Hey, how y'all doing? This is Mongo Slade, and today we're going to talk about a couple of gimmicks from our boy Orlando Jordan. But first, hit the like, also hit subscribe. Thank you kindly. Now let's talk about Orlando Jordan. So I don't know what year Orlando Jordan debuted in the WWE. I don't remember much about Orlando Jordan at all, except for his run as the chief of staff for JBL in JBL's cabinet. Jordan is basically just one of the guys who stood next to JBL, and he had like this really, he had it like this. All he had to do was really stand there and smile. Like he didn't have to cut any promos. Of course, he had to run in and take some bumps and do some stuff in order to help JBL win. That was essentially his role. He didn't have to do much of anything. It didn't require any special skills. It didn't require any special talents. It just meant you had to be, well spoken. Well, he looked a lot like he looked like, I don't know how else to put it. He looked like Don Lemon. Okay, like he was a Don Lemon of his time. This JBL character had himself a Don Lemon. You know, just, now he wasn't. It wasn't like JB. It wasn't like JBL's butler or anything like that. He was just an underling who stood there and got beaten up when JBL, would try to escape to help JBL escape and all these various things. He was a bump machine, but being a bump machine actually has some benefits because JBL, not JBL, but Orlando Jordan actually won the United States Championship from John Cena, which was bizarre. It was the last John Cena United States title run that JBL had cost him, and Orlando Jordan won the title. Orlando Jordan would go on a pretty decent run with the United States title, and then dropped it in like 4 seconds to Voldemort, Chris Benoit. So that became, after JBL lost his title, then Orlando Jordan lost his title. I mean, the cabinet was pretty much gone by this point. Orlando Jordan now was pretty much floating. That's when he had his, he grew his hair out and he had his hair sticking up on his head. And, the chief of staff thing came and went. It really had no legs to it. They could have done more with it if we're being honest. They chose not to because they wanted to emphasize JBL so much. But I really would have liked for them to show him having chief of staff duties. Like maybe they did this and I just wasn't paying attention. Because I don't really go back and relive these eras. Like I lived through them. I don't really go back and relive this stuff. I go back when I watch the network. I watch stuff that I've never seen before, not stuff that I've already seen. Plus, I have DVDs for a lot of the stuff that I already liked, so I really don't just go through the network for that. But you know, his run after losing the U.S. title, really, there was nothing. After he lost JBL at his side, they didn't do anything with Orlando Jordan. He didn't cut any promos. Nothing memorable happened other than him losing very fast matches to Chris Benoit. And then he disappeared. And then he was gone, you know? And it was a weird time when Orlando Jordan, in a couple of years later, made his TNA debut. Because boy, oh boy, if you've never seen the Orlando Jordan TNA debut, where he came from the rafters, covered in caution tape, and basically right out of the gate, they came with this guy is gay. Like straight up. They didn't hide it. They were in your face with with the gay stuff, with the flamboyance. Now, there is, of course, we know Velveteen Dream does that stuff in the modern wrestling parlance. The black dude who kind of does edgy sexuality. But Velveteen Dream is doing Prince. Prince is a person who really exists. He was a musician. Orlando Jordan is doing basically just bizarre stuff. He wore eyeshadow. He wore lipstick sometimes. He was kind of doing, I wouldn't say he was doing drag, because he wasn't doing drag. He wasn't wearing women's clothes. But he was doing, I think he might have had those extensions in. Like, it was really odd stuff. Like, he was being himself. I think he had this thing, it's called the ozone, where there would be like a man on one side and a girl on the other. And it was interesting. It was very interesting because it was very loud. and it made people uncomfortable. Like that entrance was a phenomenal entrance because it was the first time somebody had come from the ceiling since Owen Hart fell. Nobody comes from the ceiling anymore in wrestling. So Orlando Jordan coming from the ceiling, covered in caution tape, barefoot, wearing nothing but caution tape. It's like, what in the hell? Like we were in for something over the top when it comes to this Orlando Jordan thing. Now, the character again, I don't know. I don't even think it was a character at this point because I think that he kind of just started, quote unquote, living his truth. Much like, what was that guy's name? His name is Fred Rosser. What was his name? Darren Young in the WWE, where they didn't out him and then he started doing weird gimmicks. He didn't ever started doing that flamboyant stuff anyway. But Orlando Jordan basically became a rainbow warrior. He just became like the gay wrestler. But it was unique for its time. And I was definitely stumped at the whole idea because it was so different from what I had seen Orlando doing before. And even today, he kind of fell off the face of the earth after his TNA run failed. And his TNA run was absolutely abysmal. They didn't do anything to try to capitalize off the uniqueness of the Orlando Jordan character or what he was trying to portray or what he was trying to do. They just jobbed him out and had him get beaten up and, like he had this elaborate entrance, but for what reason? He didn't win anything. He didn't do anything, but it's still very memorable for, you to have this guy and for him to be completely different, for him to come out and come out as far as come out sexually and for it to be so comfortable and have such a swagger about it that usually in wrestling, when they have these characters that are in some ways gay, either they come out as strictly gay or they try to blur the lines. But there was no lines being blurred when it comes to Orlando Jordan. They made it quite clear that he was doing who he was and what he was up to. But it was shocking. It was shocking. It was different. And different doesn't mean bad. Different doesn't mean good. But it was certainly different. And I'm pretty sure if I was a more regular TNA watcher, I probably would have a deeper, more, let's say, knowledgeable opinion. All I know is his run sucked because didn't last that long. And it didn't end up with him, running the company for a year and a half or anything like that, so it wasn't any good. But the opportunity was there because a lot of people was talking about this. Hell, I was talking about it. It was memorable, It was along the lines of Gold Dust, and they had the opportunity and they fumbled it. They didn't know what to do with it. But then again, who does? It's very difficult to ask wrestling promoters to push homosexual characters as being the top stars, and they're crawling around on the ground half naked, covered in caution tape. Like that's very difficult to ask people to do. Nobody has done it yet. Like nobody has yet to make a world champion out of an Adrian Street, Gold Dust, Aaron Rex, Liberace, loud gay character. Nobody has done it yet. Now maybe it'll happen eventually, and maybe it should have happened with Goldust, but it hasn't happened yet. And I'm not going to blame TNA for not being the first to do it. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for your time and patience, and I'll talk to you guys later.